a little species value nature system. Talking about evidence reception. Reception of the treatments of the flag. Wrong by all. How everyone misses it because of a value nature transfer exploitation system. And I want to talk to you about how you see evidence reception, which everyone's missing with mistreatments of the most important issues. How to counter collusion with areas evil and with branches evil. Originally still left by our founders sitting as interbranch collusion, doing things like forging names, switching names, putting people to fake conversations, torturing that way, pretending not to realize, attaching people to fake relationships to others, forcing it, not let demonstrated abuses of each age of fact treatment nature. This was to the ground and as the value of our education before they let it formally facilitated. Interscience already, because they were already standing value, they already knew that. Then it was interbranch through this, semi-established, left like that since before our founders' births. Then it was again from off campuses, all roles with that, nature with that, unrealized, all that mixed with overt criminal enterprises, all in charge, private ones, everyone hurt by that, to spots, as tools needing to hide lies, delusions, and ill premises treatments, sequence treatments, ill quality of fact treatment nature, offensive evidence separation. When we talk about opinions, convictions, and then there's prayer in the volume that's filling of this one that's going to be positive or negative onto itself, but onto its system, which is the bonded value of finite, active, and progressive at the same time. Bonded as what causes positive or negative, causes criminal insidiousness nature, even when it's criminally still, even if you legalize it, it's still criminal. Like with black. That was forced but by what came before modern nations as a tool. Now they're using even our founders not defended. How could someone defend they recorded can't defend our founders, and they're not letting free speech? This is an organized crime, that method that's not letting this demonstrated outside of in freedom. Even on campuses, intercampuses, per crime method, trick fact treatment nature that has sensibilities, not by accident, to and as the value of all locations, reliant upon expert lead, and where and how this is exploiting originally and still methodically juxtaposed natures of crimes and of roles with them, interbranch every modern nation now foreshared from this. The beginning of the Old Testament, the beginning of the Quran are working together, but it's being missed. How? Because they're talking about criminal insidiousness nature, states and areas being maintained, victim predators, criminally foreign influence sensibilities natures, treatments of the truth and of exception nature being exploited, causing negative value nature progressions and roles and styles, needing to blame out other and others themselves. Convictions that are demonstrated of a nature that forgiveness is for about. Because this is, for example, people say, Christopher Columbus. And they want to know your opinion on it. But see, everyone's offensive. You're going to have the wrong outcomes every time, because the only ones that was sequence shifting roles. Then you're forced to have a nature of debate with people that is insane, because each of the sciences are with physical delusions, criminally foreign influenced. Our founders forced words upon them, forced theater upon them, glorified. Our founders wanted to explain how when they say a more perfect union, they wanted them to say that's criminal insidiousness nature positive. We had to hide the extent of our roles with the Constitution, with Marbury versus Madison. Forget about it. You have freedom. Hey, today, see, we have with areas, and then they're with other nations now. They're all victims from this originally, and then they made titles, positions. They have to rely on experts and do their job, and that's maintaining them criminally foreign influence, overt criminal enterprise method that had them and keeps them needing individually grouped areas and states in collusion, needing to hide live progressions and natures of convictions interbranch, intercampuses, in collusion, crime methods with that. Because then what are you going to do when you're denying that in relationship to people at those locations? The sciences. You have to keep the natures of industry jobs criminally foreign influenced, and approaches to them with anyone who's going to become the correlation nature, demonstrating this, because this is all fake sides, fake middles. Because real science with no physical delusions demonstrates physical delusions into science, criminally being exploited. Wire crime methods, wire crime acts, uses of jails, of databases, of methods to facilitate, to maintain the wrong outcome in cases, and to maintain the branches in collusion, preventing legitimate information into the branches. That means the FBI and the CIA, former director of FBI, his lawyer, federal criminals associated with him, recorded and confessed, demonstrated, criminally involved with kids that I grew up around, involved with identity thefts, narratives they're putting into that. In other words, they're verifying, vetting information, using to check database information to check that is theater, it's faked, it's criminally foreign influenced, and delusions raw. It's got sequence shifts in there. Also, it's got sensibility natures that pretend they don't like people like me, is recorded. Because they can't put any, in other words, they're involved with sequence shifts when they were kids for their roles with drug crimes. Their roles with interbranch police recorded through time. Each age of fact treatment nature sticking lies about people into databases, specifically to keep criminally foreign influenced states and areas, groups, and they stack names recorded. They're where the crime methods manifest, where they pretend they don't understand people. If you say, these kids have sex crime acts on them, they say they're recorded. They'll forge names, make things up, and direct strangers to pretend other, and just to be other, pretend they don't understand people. I'm an expert on the nature of English grammar. And you know, we have animals as the ones who are pretending they're. See, in other words, this is maintained theater because what does that needs to justify it not only there, but to all areas that those topics might come up. Sensibilities are maintained. Each age of fact, human nature, each person together, grouped, sequentially, progressively. And like they're aligned to each individual, grouped together progressively with sequence shift. They're conforming all to liars and lies only seen, but their roles per the people that are pretending they're about integrity. Worse than most criminals, we have, you know, all victim predator roles, private and interbranch criminally foreign influence. A whole bunch of nations at once, though, fake identities, doing the same things there. Using fake mental diagnosis to drug people in prisons and stuff like that, that they're recorded criminally involved with the areas, with the sex offenders, with some house on, with people, some um, Phil Colella, recorded tied to a house on a two-route highway, and to two Mendez brothers with identity thefts, fake locations, fake conversations with me through time, sequence shift crime roles with the Interbro when they were kids. I never had a class with Phil Colella, cousin of Ray Colella. Came in when I was in fourth grade, I believe, or fifth grade. And so anyway, forgot the topic. Christopher Columbus. See, everyone's making a nature of fight. And then they want the people who want to talk about all that is they're only fighting for that. They're pretending people are with opinions who are asking to demonstrate crime acts, to demonstrate criminally foreign influence states and areas and sciences, recorded juxtaposed delusions wrought in sequence shifting predators. They're preventing mandated law. It was recorded that there were perjury rackets natures with their treatments of the congressional issues and those upon the women, especially when there was more recorded. WFSB confessed and recorded, Fox CT confessed and recorded, WTNH confessed and recorded, facilitated to fake news crime acts in the furtherance of a whole bunch of crimes with natures of crimes with various natures of agencies and their family members criminally involved. Election crime acts, sex crime acts roles with the Dillon family, also with this Fianza family. Crimes with the state judicial branch officers criminally involved through time. This is also a crime method using black bodies associated criminally with this. Fake sides of issues, also criminally involved with the I don't know the names of the people. They're in a Victorian house on Two-Route Highway where it runs into Tang Dog Lane. Also, a house is criminally involved with the rest of the child offenders, and that's off in the principal sex offender school is a street perpendicular from Hang Dog that runs into Two-Route Highway, and that goes into the Berlin Turnpike before the heart of Hartford, which is also what I know about the Phil Colella. Bob Chase recorded and confessed him involved, with others like Cuddy Brothers and stuff like that that also recorded and confessed involved with doctors and state police and FBI and CIA and their family members with identity thefts, crimes with interbranch police that using Facebook criminally through time, and their motivations for it were to cover lie progressions. Their identity thefts are to, in other words, keep knocking people, keep making things up. Also to say the good things about people, but in other words, to pretend they know people. Putting people to fake locations. Fake relationships to groups that are tied that I had nothing to do with. Now the branches are also not just criminally involved with themselves, but with the police formally with the database crimes and crime acts and cases recorded and with their databases. And fake news crime acts, but with area. Because then they're hiding this with like Federal Crime Act rules. See, they were invested growing up to roles with investigations and questions that then they have to value their answers to. And they're also being led by sensibilities using the pretended thought needed, pretended credibility of our agencies. That's how each modern nation was lifted to agencies, left criminally foreign influence. Our founders left us to demonstrate how they were forced to pretend criminal insidious nature convictions and quality of fact-cheating nature with and as their presentation of the Declaration of Independence. At the same time with the surface value of the Constitution that they told us to not stay abridged. Trick fact-cheating nature with have the sciences defending the religions with physical delusions. So when someone comes with real correlation nature, Trinity, finite, active, and progressive values bond, and not fake sides, not sequence shifts. You see, they have sensibilities that are pretending they have integrity, and that needed so they could pretend not to realize their crimes, wire crimes, mail crimes, intercampuses crimes, and crime methods that have kept our areas and states criminally foreign influenced through a method that's keeping all blaming the causes of it on other things, on others, on ourselves. Why and how we never had correlation natures demonstrate that worse than not sciences were upon the questions of people in Hartford, Connecticut. Sickly, non-distinctly, but sickly, distinctly, and non-distinctly intercity, intercampuses of each age in each city connected. Same minority of people, sickly, distinctly, not non-distinctly. Especially with psychology, corruption with doctors of it, with badges of it, and their family members, and uses of women with that as the experts of that. No, where types of experts are force directed by the jobs of the law that were originally and still incapable of defending those identities of and as value and of and as their relationship to the value of our nature's the gaining value of our nature's volume, which has an identity is with an identity before then as the finite value, as the active value, as the progressive value at the same time. Science reveals this, and it reveals when we value it that way, which prayer is a form of correlation here. See, they made prayer into criminally foreign influence things, physical delusions, and they're saying that others have physical delusions, and that's recorded because they're pretending the conversations about it. They're forging names, switching names, juxtaposed overt street crime, drugs, overt criminal enterprises, drugs, and medical drugs with families intercity abusing kids. Behind the whole time, behind the interreligious cliques too, recorded, confessed, demonstrated how facilitated, motivated to roles, to sensibilities with interbranch offensive evidence reception crimes, not just with color. In other words, crime roles with women forcing the abuses of little girls because they have girls in a system that's criminally foreign influence, recorded through time with the sex. There's a principal sex offender that was sentenced. They forced him first by hiding and not letting reported sex crime acts recorded. Crime acts in the cases and people with the court involved with the Weathersfield police chief and the retired and standing detectives with the policing of the schools criminally involved with that, and their roles with drug crimes and the policing of stores criminally. But their motivations were life progression cover-ups because they were built criminally foreign influenced. Forgiveness is for this and for them. They're sick, more sicker than killers. They can't defend their evidence perceptions, their convictions, and their sequence shifting evidence perjury racket roles and methods, and also at the same time. So they know, they value our history only having been taught criminally foreign influenced, insidiously, pretending not to realize that the convictions with it are against what our founders wanted us to demonstrate. They didn't have free speech. Those were breaching screen roles with lynchings and things like that. KKK fronts, Confederate flag fronts. These are associated with criminal justice movements, undercover policing and stuff like that. That was juxtaposed with overt criminal enterprises and with the private ones, especially psychology. Because this is where the branches and the prison cliques are maintained through crime methods bonded on campuses, intersciences with databases, making people value their roles, facilitated by interbranch on-off campuses, library covers using means to do that. In other words, using the sensibilities of people with undercover people in the background for legitimate reasons known. Also, intermilitary, criminally foreign influence. We'll examine criminal foreign influences and physical delusions behind the movement of everyone with their fact treatment of the flag. With Kaepernick, all chiefs miss this. They can't fathom anything else. We're invested as a value nature system that is inseparable from and as the value of our fact treatment nature, not by accident. And per and as this course ulterior from what modern nations, markets, positions were and are. So they're forcing a quality of fact treatment nature regarding what it is to be, well, I'm Italian, Irish, and French. They're extorting, what's that mean? About Christopher Columbus. I care more about Native Americans, but their fact treatments are what are still roles with divides and beats them, because it's got everyone as identities through the ground of education, criminally foreign influence, the delusions wrought intersciences, and then facilitated that further formally. And each age of fact treatment nature left in this trap. And, so forgiveness was for a quality of fact treatment nature that is not using F him as a premise, because then that's what keeps the branches capable of doing that, capable as nature's motivated and needing to hide what is keeping them that way, by needing and keeping us needing to hide that, which we can see through them. They can only see this is the areas in those people involved with them like that, propagated criminally foreign influence. The other side has the overt criminal enterprises and that inclusion already. So that has all the people that aren't interbranch tied and or military tied. And all that juxtaposed with that, especially with psychology and database relationship, even non-psychologists like sociology. People with database relationships are directed to expert lean with titles of the law, off campuses, and then on off campuses, database illusion stacking, spreading rumors through kids per a crime method. That is also, asking questions people per how and why we really have all these investigations manifest, valued. This is, in other words, a crime method that would make the colonists value even people, made Africans value other Africans setting up slavery, because each modern nation's agencies were taking a role, fake sides. Wars to keep themselves, even if they fought, whatever, they're just defending jobs of expert lean. Incapable of countering what juxtaposed all those methods of crimes, bonded, simultaneously, tactically, to keep live progressions. In live progression, cover up nature, standing criminally foreign influence, delusions, wrought branches. All victim predators, interscience, only realize needing to exploit that, to hide it. And as victim reactions in a value nature system, tactical ulterior from value nature's perfect progression, actual system. So we don't have free speech, and we have opinions left nave because they're cultivated nave, for example, with sequence treatments, because that is also a tool that measures. So they have, in other words, at fact treatment nature levels, at the Trade Center Agreement level, other nations. We have natures of agencies dealing with what they call the law, that is a bridged constitution. But there are so many nations involved with it at once, and everyone from a tactically denatured relationship to nature valued as fact treatment nature, because we're on an ulterior from actual value nature system, so it's valued. What can be afforded, what's speculated, what's feared, all unnatural. We're in a other now than that. We're in a negative value nature progression, identity of negative value nature progression. Each modern nation valued by itself and as itself to all areas, because that's how nature's system demonstrates that we're with pseudosciences that came before modern nations, before modern religions. The Campus Martius and the science of pantheism about the one identity that makes inventions work or not, and further positive or negative, the Trinity. That's pantheism. And that's pantheism. And it's not just about Allah. It's all, per the Quran. This is about, to really, if you're really caring about what Allah really is, then you note the person's obligated since before the debatable parts of the Quran to stand up and not pray if they see exploitation of exception nature. Basically, in other words, they're talking about disbelievers and non-believers, not what they're attacking. In other words, they like the non-believers more than people who are believers, who are missing, or who are in collusion with what is keeping states and areas criminally foreign influenced. Forced shared policing. So therefore, of a value nature system, all victims came through sciences that were told that value nature system is normal, and the one that they're showing to the Quran is limited by what how the convictions of the sciences are being held to interpretation of the Quran, which is why it's so critical to understand why and how the Quran asks for non-believers and for believers to be valued alike, and leaving in that first part where there's none. See, if someone could debate and say, oh, that's debatable. In other words, it's not debatable because, in other words, we know that at the time, and now, since some ancient times, we have a whole bunch of nations forced share police, forced market position from a tactically denatured relationship to nature, pseudo-unity. The unity that is forced is in relationship to physical needs, to and roles, valuing naive fact treatment nature, convictions. So a quality of fact treatment nature as real science is not being demonstrated. Free speech methods of stealing it, offensive. Multi-front, motivated, needing and keeping, maintain motivated roles as tools, pretending they're about free speech. Keeping them with locations like that, areas like that, polarity natures that really aren't about free speech. This is not to attack those people. I'm just saying everyone's making the same mistakes, not by accident. When when the concept of, before I even read about him, Christopher Columbus, just from what we know about the sensibilities of him, and the nonsense we hear at school, the summary convictions. In other words, they're offensive, making convictions with him heard by people through other natures of industries that are reliant upon exploiting how many ways and families associated with this. Not just with our shared policing, but their families, with campuses, locations, communications, locations. Communications are value nature transfer, invisible but still discernible. See, that's valued when they have convictions offensive before our founders' births, to have that value offensively, because they're measuring already our founders' identity stolen and glorified, stolen in our faces, unrealized how everyone was motivated to roles like that, needing to hide lies, delusions, criminal foreign influences, torture, time impositions, invested in positions were in a value nature system, tactical ulterior, specifically to cause negative value nature progressions per a method that knew that it could use that to keep us, every modern nation, blaming others themselves, and then defending that value with convictions as fact treatment nature quality, and incapable of doing that and from countering what is non-distinctly keeping state scenarios, each age of fact treatment nature, juxtaposed with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and criminal foreign influence branches and military, needed to hide the same finite body of value and progressive lies against everyone. They need each age of fact treatment nature valued fake sides of correlation, ill conviction nature, justifications, value, not by accident. And so that's manifest when they have elections and stuff like that, led by, fake news in agencies criminally involved with election crimes and offensively pretending they're against things, multi-front with the media databases as entrenched positions against whoever wins, and before that, no one's allowed to demonstrate it. There's a retreat they forced because they knew that's why our founders didn't have free speech. That's why it's so important for us to demonstrate it, to understand criminal and seditious nature, positive that they wanted to demonstrate about their treatments of the Declaration of Independence, as opposed to the surface value of the Constitution. This perfect world racket, sabotage racket. The perfect world is God. That's what's simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive. Because before and beyond it, Trinity. That's just one C. So we have wire crime roles, switching names, forging names. Switching names is because they're stealing our free speech. They're identity theft rackets, not just with color and other natures of crime here. Now, that appreciates color being used wrong, intercolor, because they're valuing needing to hide interbranch identities of the law, attaching everyone to lies about their sensibilities, lies about their sequence relationship, lies about their relationship to others. What they read in databases, lies. This is a database illusion stacking method that is also tied to Samuel Dick's house with military corruption, police forms corruption, intercampuses with CCSU, with the families around that area, and with a Leahy family, Dr. Leahy, Brendan Leahy, and his son, and women in his family. A Lombardo woman pretended I yelled at her They put sick things in the other woman in the Leahy family, and people tied to her put fake conversations to be there one at all. Now, I refuse to have a conversation with them, but fake things, forged doctors' names, forged doctors, obviously Lee's name, sex crime acts rolls with sex offenders as that. I didn't talk to them because they were recorded involved with the people I was trying to call, recorded, trying to report on. Untimely deaths brought up the child offenders of juxtaposed natures with the campus on off it still further. And O'Brien family and Rick Sean Fayone and Kelly Kesmerick and Jennifer Kanapicki, John Maiano also recorded confessed crimes with people with roles with people at both ends of the, or at the southern end of the street of the principal sex offender that goes into Hangdog Lane there. And they said they said houses around there were involved with them with CIA. One of the Kellys, Kasmerick, said that. I don't know her. I heard that name from one of the people involved with state police and with federal criminals associated with a co-defendant of theirs, former director of the FBI, in a tied part of a case /S, and tied to a deposition where they used the Hartford court building, criminally involved with like men and women with that building and with CCSU crimes. And people I didn't see on campus, they pretended I ever saw on campus because they were involved with them with crimes from off campus with military police and with court police, leading up to a 2006 case with former director of FBI and with the people involved with the crimes with the kids when I was growing up. Ones that with the identity thefts, like a Mulcahy girls. I never had a conversation with them. My life never was in their presence. There was two DeMaine brothers and two Mendez brothers also recorded and confessed involved. I think a white family or something like that involved in like Jennifer Sosha, Jim Sosha. I don't know her original name, if that was the same too. With CCSU and with through Eric Jensen and Ray Reynolds. See, they make women grow up as victim predators because I was in their presence for one moment. I don't know what they put in the database. They had to lie. But see, these were all people that were facilitated the crime acts roles with CCSU. In other words, these are complete strangers, people I don't know at all, but that are demonstrated, recorded, confessed, involved with CCSU, also with Sammy Vega, and with Confederate flag cliques, with drug cliques and stuff with them, with these people. Regardless if they're undercover or not, they've been using that for crimes and cases and to cover lie progressions with offensive evidence reception crimes. It's so simple to demonstrate a liar when they're using color, offensive. That is an evidence reception method of correlation, simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means to demonstrate criminally foreign influence with the states and areas roles. What the beginning of the Quran is talking about, with the beginning of the Old Testament. And these religions together are about how the sciences were criminally re-engineered. And English is about uses of Allah's name, but it's also a nature of correlation, a nature of correlation that is prayer. Because that's how in-depth it is, because this is a simultaneous nature as the body of value discernment. What is positive that's going to work? In other words, and further positive or negative as criminalization nature or not. I mean, in other words, our nature's volume's relationship to itself, which is that the self, which our complete identity is a semi-nature relationship to. And every semi-nature is only positive value nature in demonstration, as everything is, of identity natures. We're making a little bit more of what is adding to the positive volume, or to the negative volume of a little bit more of the complete identity of space coming in. And like our identity, in conjunction with positive and negative value nature discernment, for the discernment of our identity nature's complete nature's discernment. It's only complete. So this is the Santa Claus is about this. If we do this together, if we're the species volume at once, trying to do that together, and that means we're trying to do it with active body of value, that means we're listening to everything that's negative value nature upon the smallest people, individuals, as a system. When we're doing it right, it's individual rights first, left to right, and simultaneously right to left, distinctly and non-distinctly, the same way. And when we're doing this right, value Y is upwards and to the top of the value Z. And when we're doing this wrong, it's downwards and to the bottom of the Z. Because Y is the extent of our value. But this is a relationship that causes positive or negative further. Because we're a quality of diffusion as a nature of volume. Actively, as life. But this active value is also the temporary / lasting value of the bond of our matter. No, going away. Leaf of Hades with space. Earth's body. Know how the rest of space has no criminal foreign influences. So there's no organized crime method that was recorded before. There was the existence of Christopher Columbus. Before there was the existence of our founders. There was the existence of this republic already criminally re-engineered. It was revealed originally by a nature of sciences that were valuing the species bond, the active body of value discernment, and finite body of value discernment simultaneously. Because they knew that's what causes evolution. See, but then that was criminally foreign influenced. And they knew they could fit roles. They learned about that. And so they kept it from being criminally foreign influenced. Then someone developed a way to make what they found out was hard to keep it from being criminally foreign influenced. They found a way to keep it perpetually impossible to stop criminal foreign influences. You know, by making no one remember this, how to cause evolution. By making everyone blaming the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures on others and on ourselves. By having everyone only having been realized, having had that valued by everyone. Precedents criminally foreign influenced, delusions raw. Offensive evidence crime rules, preventing free speech, torturing with courts by, tricks, magic, illusions, by, sensibility rackets, then lying about it, stealing, using fake news crime acts to steal our identities. These are also crime acts, making uses of individuals like me and of they even use sex offenders forced on kids to hide the lie progressions from the Trade Center attack. Investigators recorded criminally involved with the Wethersfield police chief and with New Britain Superior Court actors recorded involved with crimes with the principal sex offender, with their own sex crime acts. Before that, forcing it sustained, and then he only got caught by accident off campus. Because they're using wire crimes and mail crimes. They were already invested to wire crime, mail crime rules, database crime rules, drug crime rules, Also recorded and confessed what brought up the campus of this principal sex offender tied to more into other natures of criminals with the campus. See, we have interbranch kids, parents with their kids there, also with a Joshua Julian, who was spreading lies about criminal enterprises through the grammar school kids. These are also people associated crimes with the O'Brien family through time with this, and with those acts, and with the principal sex offenders campus and area around it. And then when they were little, also demonstrated, confessed, recorded him and people tied to them after, with a live progressions tied to that, involved with overt criminal enterprises, congressional mistreatments, systemic offensive evidence reception predators, methods, crime acts, and natures recorded. Tied. See, that's why they're not letting people report things. Facebook is still also by WFSB recorded and confessed involved with crimes with Dave KNERR and with sex offenders with fake sex offender maps about people who try to tell on them. And even if they're undercover, not really on the sex offender list, as legitimately caught for that, they're recorded with sex crime acts roles with the principal sex offender and with others recorded with the interbranch sex crime acts before that in intercampuses. Facebook was a long time used to cover up a database crime role that is facilitated with grammar schools through the Joshua Julian too, that was pretending that they had ties to me. Also with, as one recorded and confessed, involved by my neighbor Ray Clow, involved with identity theft crime rules. As victims though, but as victims with predators in relationship to database illusion stacking, the same courts criminally involved with sequence shifts. These are also people tied to interstate cliques with crime acts and rules with a proven sequence shift, as federal criminals in other cases proven, and with a daughter and other kids that were in my school that were used criminally when I was growing up. And they used the daughters and sons of interbranch families, intercampuses. And then they exploited that when they were adults because they had them value their fact treatment nature in relationship to investigations, locking people into perjury rules against people like me that the girl only knows because she walked up to me sometimes and made statements to me. And in other words, which are confessions, demonstrations of her crime roles with people with the live progressions from the grammar school I went to, and then the middle school recorded then and now too further that was involved with the sex offenders and with the drug cliques. See, they have programs with the policing of the kids and the policing of the policing and stuff like that, criminally involved. Also, other men and women doctors criminally involved with the sex offenders, fake conversations, forging names, drug crime rules, criminal uses of their kids, hiding live progressions tied to their crimes and cases through time, various natures of the same courts, other natures of court, tied to a proven sequence shift in the trade center attack context. These cliques that were criminally involved with the ones in my town now involved with more sex offenders and the courts' fake news crime acts of juxtaposed natures, them recording with physical delusions, saying whatever in the background to prevent, using fake news, stealing our identities, not letting us have voice, using courts as a weapon, forging names, switching names interbranch, switching sequences, torturing that way, stealing our identities, telling us forget about it. These are sicker than most killers. And they have trade center attack crime rules more. Their motivations to it recorded that led up to it. Criminal uses of the context of the tied untimely deaths of my new and past neighbors tied to that. One on the campus of Trinity College. Let's go. Because I don't want to use then we have the girls they use with Allison, a whole bunch of Alicias that were used criminally and with identity thefts. And this is interstate. and through time with interbranch tied to CCSU and houses next to Trinity College and next to CCSU criminally involved. I never had a conversation in my life with Charlie Bowes. And his sister, I never had it. As an adult, she confirmed that she in identity theft crime roles, pretending to know me in the past too. I never had a class where I never even knew he had a sister when I was growing up. That was also recorded, confessed through a time tied to the Ray Claw with the extended family members involved with the rest of the sex offenders, with the principal sex offender and with forensic spots and prisoners collects involved with it criminally, with the crime acts of the New Britain Superior Court and of Hartford Superior Court with their police with crime acts on off CCSU, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated in military police. And that's also with Kuwaiti police in Deans forging and switching names and identities. These are methods that are being in sequences and attaching me to fake conversations and relationships to people from my town through time. Everywhere I go. They're preventing me from business too. They have Sammy Vega from Hartford also involved with the intercity, criminally with the group with a KKK, Confederate flag themed roles with their kids and with the campuses with the principal sex offender and with the crime acts at CCSU and with fake news at the state level. Now they're making the CNN as a weapon too, pretending they have sensibilities and credibility of science, where they're recorded themselves confessing and demonstrating they know they don't. They know it's worse than Russian spy dens too. And they're with crimes of Russians against Russians, same way we have ours against ours. Fake names, a whole bunch of sides. Pakistani, they don't care about them. The psychology's sick, I'll tell you that too. We have cowards here. They pretend, oh, why you would tell? That's a crime method. They know they already forged names, switch names. They pretend things are recorded. They just write things. They write things in quotes that they make up as a means to pretend they had a conversation with officers who were in my grade growing up, but I never had anything to do with them. They tried to record allusion to other. I noted that online before. I didn't understand the extent of it, and I didn't explain the extent of it because they're not letting. There's a whole bunch of juxtaposed natures of crimes, identity theft, crime acts, all with strangers. They keep attaching me and each age of nature too. These are crime acts recorded from the context of shortly before the context of 9/11. Crimes proven. A crime, the sequence shift shown to the panel of judges in the Trade Center attack context day, Ninth Circuit, Manhattan. These are interstate from Connecticut that were associated with this. And worse than the interstate. And through time, criminally involved, stacking illusions into databases. Specifically for fact treatment nature rackets that are using live progressions as the entire agenda. That's what you use color. It's so simple. That's evidence perception of what's his name? Christopher Columbus. It's not who knows the most. We'll examine. So he's being used as a tool and as a weapon. As a tool to measure when treatments, to keep treatments incapable of defending treatments of people that came before our founders, and what we're supposed to be treating them actively, their history, our history, stolen. Behold in peace, campus Marcy's rises in the